Can I tell you something I've been unlearning? For a long time, I measured success by how much I could fit into my life, how much I could accomplish, or how many balls I could keep in the air, or how efficiently I could move from one thing to the next. I wore capability almost like a badge of honor. Maybe some of you can relate. But somewhere along the way, I realized that being able to carry more isn't the same thing as living well. Being capable of doing something doesn't automatically make it the right thing to do. And that realization has slowly changed the way I define success. Today, for me, success looks much less like fitting more into my calendar and much more like being fully present for what I've already chosen. There's a big difference between showing up and showing up fully. So sometimes saying yes doesn't actually honor the opportunity. Sometimes it dilutes it. And that was powerful for me to realize. I would like to offer a different way to think about all of this, and especially around the choosing that something can wait. It means it isn't really rejecting it, it's making room to fully embrace something else. The question now becomes, what do we do when we're standing in the middle of real life, trying to decide? Because that's where things get messy. That's where the guilt shows up. That's where the confidence trap starts whispering, you can handle one more thing. I want to share a simple way to interrupt that pattern before it takes over. How do you actually make these decisions? Okay, this is the big question, because it's one thing to nod your head and think, yes, everything can't be equally important. It's another thing entirely when your boss asks if you can take on one more project, or the PTO needs another volunteer, or a friend asks for a favor, or your family assumes you'll host the holiday, or another opportunity lands in your lap that you genuinely want to say yes to. Real life doesn't pause long enough for us to sit quietly with our journal every time we have a decision to make. We need something we can carry with us, something simple enough to remember when we're standing in the middle of real life. I found myself coming back to 3 questions. And not because these questions magically make every decision easy. They don't. Some decisions are still hard. Some still come with disappointment. And some definitely still require trade-offs. But these questions slow me down just enough to stop reacting automatically. And they can help me move from default to intentional. I call them the reclaim filter, because every time I use them, I reclaim a little more ownership over my time, my energy, and my attention. Okay, let's walk through them together. Question 1, is this mine to carry? And if there is one question I hope stays with you after today, it's this one. Because I think so many capable women are carrying things that never actually belong to them in the first place. We're carrying other people's emotions, other people's stress, their poor planning, their discomfort, their responsibilities. Sometimes we're even carrying expectations that nobody ever asked us to carry. We just assumed they were ours. Why? Because we're capable, because we're dependable, because we're responsible, because we're used to stepping in before anyone else has to. And that's the competence trap. Again, the more capable you become, the more likely you are to assume responsibility before anyone even asks. You notice something that needs to be done and you simply do it. And after enough years of operating that way, you stop asking whether it was yours in the first place. You simply pick it up. Let me give you an example. Have you ever walked into the kitchen, seen dishes in the sink, and immediately started loading the dishwasher? Not because you planned to, not because anyone asked you to, just because you saw them. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting we all stop doing dishes, but I do think it's worth noticing how quickly we assume that responsibility. And sometimes that's appropriate. Sometimes it isn't. The point is to stop assuming everything automatically belongs to you. So the next time something lands in front of you, pause and ask yourself, is this mine to carry? You might still decide the answer is yes, but at least it will be a choice and not a reflex. Now, question 2 is this the right season? This question has become one of my favorites because it replaces guilt with perspective. And that distinction matters because so often we treat every opportunity like it has an expiration date. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. If I say no, I'm letting people down. If I don't squeeze it in, I'm missing out. But life isn't lived in one weekend. It's lived over seasons. Think about gardening for a moment. You can have the healthiest tomato plant in the world, plant it outside in New Jersey in January, and it isn't going to thrive because it's the wrong season. And we understand that instinctively when it comes to nature. For some reason, we struggle to apply that same wisdom to ourselves. Sometimes a dream belongs in another season. Sometimes a project does, a trip does, sometimes rest does, or growth does. Sometimes saying not yet is the very thing that allows you to enjoy it later. I'll leave you with this question to ponder. What are you trying to force into a season that simply doesn't have room for it? Not because it isn't worthwhile, but because this isn't the time. Moving on to question 3. If I choose this, what am I also choosing? I think this question might be the most honest of all because every choice comes with another choice attached to it. If I say yes to another commitment, I'm also saying yes to having less margin. If I say yes to staying late at work, I'm saying yes to getting home later. If I say yes to answering emails all evening, I'm saying yes to being less present with my family. If I say yes to taking care of everyone else, I'm saying yes to postponing something that meant and mattered to me. Every yes creates another yes. The challenge is most of us only notice the first one. We celebrate the opportunity, but we forget to consider what it quietly asks us to give in return. That doesn't automatically mean the answer should be no. Some opportunities are absolutely worth the trade, but every opportunity deserves an honest conversation. I want you to think of one decision that's been sitting in the back of your mind lately. Maybe it's a commitment or a request, could be an opportunity or a project, a conversation you've been avoiding, whatever comes to mind first. I want you to write that at the top of your page. And we're simply going to walk through the filter. Question 1, is this mine to carry? Don't overthink it, just notice your first reaction. Question 2, is this the right season? Not forever, just today, this season of your life. And question 3, if I choose this, what else am I also choosing? Write whatever comes to mind. There are no right answers here, only honest ones.